Hello and welcome to Temple of Akasha, the home of embodied spirituality with me, Natasha. Today, I'd like to speak about what I feel is one of the most important spiritual tasks that faces us at this time of Kali Yuga, the apex of Kali Yuga, the end times. This is a truly critical, transformative period of humanity's evolutionary journey. This is a time of biblical prophecy coming into manifestation. And what that means is that the stakes are very high. The stakes are high for us to resurrect our souls from a fear-based matrix and web that has sold to us many lies and inversions and has been constructed in such a way that really severs us from our pure, innocent, and portal-like hearts, our hearts that connect us to the singularity, the unifying singularity of love. Our hearts are chambers of alchemy. Not only do they connect us as the bridges between our humanity and our divinity, they also can hold the totality of this human experience with the unconditionally loving force that is love, true love. But unfortunately, so much of humanity is still living severed from a deep connection to their heart centers. And so what happens when we are living with closed and guarded hearts is we ultimately forget the spiritual dimension of our experience, of our existence, of our true nature, and we operate from fear-based reactivity and karmic cycles of habituated ways of being. We cycle in old conditioning that only recognizes the world of form as truth, that does not consider what love would do in a situation, and instead only considers the egoic position. And if we are to truly evolve as a humanity, we must reconnect with our heart portals. We must make the courageous journey to reopen our hearts so that we can make choices, empowered choices infused with the vibration of love. Because to me, true love is synonymous with truth. It's synonymous with integrity. It's synonymous with purity, innocence, and it is uncomplicated. You know, true love honors the all, not just what's best for me, but what's best for the all. Everyone, everything involved in the situation we're experiencing and examining. And so I really want to speak in today's video about the art of leaning into love at a time when we're being encouraged to be further severed, engaged in a severing from ourselves, from each other, from Gaia, the earth, and from God. Instead of choosing what they being the dark forces that are, behind the implementation of the fear-based matrix, instead of engaging with that narrative, can we instead choose the courageous path of leaning into love and reopening the heart, reopening the portal that is the bridge between our human nature and our divine nature? And so the path of leaning into love, I call it courageous because it is a challenging thing to recognize all of the content that obstructs our experience of love. So I feel and experience the heart as a portal that connects me to the singularity of love, to the singularity that unifies us all beyond this form world of separation, and beyond the emotional content that can feel very divisive within us, like grief, anger, judgment, confusion, disdain, resentment, alienation, isolation, etc. Beyond all of the content that we might experience emotionally that doesn't feel like love, there is love holding it. There is the invitation of the heart to hold all of that which we experience on this earthly plane, this world of duality and of contrast. There is the invitation to hold it all with love, not to deny it or to diminish it or to avoid it, to relegate it to the realm of darkness and shadow, but to reintegrate it and to widen our embrace and hold it all with love. And when we do this, we return to a more integrated and whole state. We return to the truth of who we are, not as fragmented, severed, and separate beings, but as divine beings. And so the invitation when we lean into love is to not turn away from the pain that we experience, but actually turn towards it with curiosity, with love, and with compassion. And I want to just share what inspired this sharing and this process within me to create this video and to create a soul circle based on this, which has been March's Soul Circle. And that was an experience I had with my family. One of my family members who has been in the late stages of pregnancy was induced in an emergency situation because she was at risk and her baby was at risk. And my family have been a really important part of my upbringing. You know, they are my step family. I was raised, largely by my single mother, who's Portuguese. We didn't have blood family here in the UK. And so my step family was such an important part of my childhood and my formative years. They provided me with such a deep sense of belonging when I often felt very alone. And they mean such a tremendous amount to me. But during the pandemic, there was a notable severing from my family because I made very different choices and I had a very different response to what was happening on the planet at that time. And in the wake of all of the division that occurred during the pandemic, both with COVID and then the medical intervention, the vaccine that was, introduced to humanity, it was very difficult to keep the heart open to the love we feel for those in our lives and to also process the amount of grief and severing from belonging we might feel. And I really struggled with this myself, and I unconsciously started to close my heart down in response to this severing and this division that was occurring in ideology, in choices, in vantage points, in embodiment. And so when my cousin's life was at risk and when I'd heard that she was being taken into hospital and induced, a flush of love came over me. And in that moment when, the foundations of her life and our kind of familial reality was potentially being really rocked, what I was reminded of is that beneath all of the pain we feel, beneath all of the layers of severing, beneath all of the layers of fragmentation that we might perceive, there is still love. Love holds it all. Love is beneath it all. And love is patiently waiting for us to return to its wisdom and holding once again. And, in those critical moments when, we're faced with mortality, when we're faced with life or death situations, when, our very capacity to be here and embodied, or the capacity for someone else we love to be embodied and incarnated is called into question, more trivial matters are dissolved. We are reminded of what is really important. And in that moment, I was reminded that love is the deepest truth I feel for her and for my family. And it was quite an important and pivotal moment of awakening for me, reawakening to the fact that I had closed my heart down to my family to try and shelter myself from the pain of not feeling like I belonged anymore, of feeling some degree of rejection, of feeling judgment from my side and from their side. But actually, the invitation of the heart is not to close in the face of pain and in the wake of judgment. It is actually, can we hold the love we feel and the pain we're experiencing simultaneously. And that is a big ask, because it's really not easy to meet our pain with awareness. It's really not easy to feel the grief of losing someone we love, whether that's through death or through, an energetic death, perhaps through fragmentation, separation, division. It is not easy to process painful change. It is not easy to feel that severing that comes when we take a different path to those around us. But that is the invitation of the heart. Rather than to close and to walk away from, can we remain open and lean into both the pain and also the love that holds the pain? And if we have the courage to lean into the love that we feel for those around us, that we feel for ourselves, that we feel for life, that we feel from God and the divine, rather than closing, that love will hold us through and will begin to alchemize all of the other contents that we feel and return us to a more whole and integrated state. Because when we deny the painful contents that's arising from our human experience, and let's be honest, this human experience is full of contrast that, triggers and brings up lots of feelings that don't feel like love. What happens when we deny that contents is we fragment and we separate and we isolate aspects of our consciousness, and we say that that's not wanted, it's not welcome, it's not needed here, and we actually begin to fragment and sever ourselves from the totality of who we are, which is deeply feeling human beings and beautifully compassionate, loving, divine beings. So rather than fragmenting, can we marry our humanity and our divinity by choosing to keep our hearts open and to love as well as experiencing the pain of what it means to be human? That is the invitation of leaning into love. That is what I feel the deepest medicine humanity can draw on right now. We are seeing the consequence of choosing to walk away from pain, choosing to deny what we feel, choosing to shut down, choosing to close off. Our world, this world steeped in pain and suffering and war and severing and judgment, is the result of that closing off process. And this is certainly not a world that I want to be perpetuating. This is not a paradigm that I want to be perpetuating. I know from my own personal life being transformed by love that a different way is possible. That if instead of walking away from painful conflicts and situations and disagreements, can we choose to lean in to what the most loving choice is for ourselves and those around us? Instead of choosing to let our wounding, our fear of abandonment, of rejection, make the choices for us emotionally, can we choose to be present and to let our hearts guide us in the choices we make moving forwards? For me, that is the deepest medicine that we can draw on, that is going to help repair and unify humanity once again. Remembering that the heart is the portal to the singularity of love. And when we close off our ability to feel pain as a mechanism to protect ourselves, we also close the door on being able to access the alchemical medicine and power of love. You can't compartmentalize the heart. So when you close down to the pain, you also close down to the ability to feel love and embody love. And so I know my choice. I know that God, Goddess, the divine has tasked me with being a priestess in this incarnation that chooses to walk the path of the heart and chooses to walk the path of love. And it is my responsibility and task to first embody that in my own life, to witness the transformative medicine of choosing that path, and then to share it with others. And so that is the invitation today, that especially during the time of filming, which is a really crucial eclipse portal focusing on, how we can become autonomous, sovereign, empowered individuals in our relationships and not lean into codependent, wounded dynamics anymore. How do we balance being individuals with our own needs, values, boundaries, goals, and also being relational beings who want to connect with and experience intimacy with others? How do we balance those two things? Coming back to the heart is a really essential part of evolving our relationships, of making sure that we are engaging in dynamics that are true and honest and transparent and in integrity and authentic and vulnerable. The heart is the way. Whenever we're faced with conflicts in our relationships, we have two choices. We can close down, we can separate, we can sever from, we can push away from, which creates division, which breeds resentment, anger, grief, sorrow, perhaps potentially separation. Or we can choose to be vulnerable and to recognize that the only reason we close down is because the amount of pain we feel is relative to the amount of love we have the potential to feel. And so can we recognize in those moments that actually the reason we're in pain is because we love? And can we let that love inform our choices? I'm in pain because I love you. I'm in pain because I see the potential of this world and it's not being actualized. I see the potential for love in this world, for more loving ways of being towards each other, towards the earth, towards nature, towards the animal kingdom. That's the reason we feel the pain we feel. And to end these cycles of suffering, we have to start choosing to move from love instead of fear, to choose to move from love instead of this state of consciousness and frequency of separation, of severing. Can we make heart-informed choices? To me, this is one of the biggest spiritual invitations and tasks available to us. And I hope that with awareness and courage, more and more of humanity can continue to walk this path and come back to the wisdom of the heart. We've tried the other way. It doesn't work. We see a world plagued with suffering and pain. So why don't we try a different way? This is a critical time where we have to lean into innovation, pioneering ways, more honest ways, and there is no greater teacher of that than the heart. So I'm sending you love, I'm sending you courage. I invite you to also lean into the truth and light of the heart and all the wisdom that it can shed in your life, on your life. I'm sending so much love and a deep honoring of each and every one of you for being here and for being curious about leaning into love, being curious about true spiritual awakening and what heart-centered awakening means. And I wish you the best for your heart-centered journey moving forwards. I look forward to connecting with you again in the next transmission. If you're not already subscribed to this channel and you enjoyed this video, I really encourage you to subscribe, like, and share, as it also helps other heart-centered beings find this work and this transmission. And I look forward to connecting with you again really soon.